You're listening to Table for Five with Felicia and Annette, only on LA Talk Radio.
You've seen The View. You've heard all the real talk. Now have a seat at our table. A table for five.
Yes, that's right. Good morning, everyone.
We're back.
You're
Live.
back.
I'm back.
You are
back.
back.
You were here. I left
here.
you alone.
Yes, you did.
You did.
That was so
You were
sad.
fine.
Yes, good morning and welcome everyone. I feel so low. I'm like looking up at the camera.
It's
like
the seat.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
We're usually sitting up.
Okay.
On
And our background, I know our background looks like nice and happy and cheery, but it's like really gloomy outside.
Is
I'm
it
looking
really?
I'm looking out the window and it's like about to rain.
Listen.
Yeah.
Compared to other places in
Oh.
the country, we're doing pretty good.
Yes, I don't know if you want to say where you were.
Oh, I was in London, and then I took a quick little trip to Paris. And
Quick little trip.
It
Can
was
I
a
take
quick
a
little
quick
trip.
trip?
I took the little Euro train and spent the night in Paris, and it was great. 10 days away was exactly what the doctor ordered.
Fantastic.
Fell in love with London, ready to go back.
Yes. Are you ready to
go back.
move? No, just visit.
It's really expensive. Like, ouch.
I don't think I could do the weather. That weather looked rough when you were
Oh,
there.
it was cloudy,
Listen.
overcast, but not. I mean, I'm from New York, so it felt normal to me. It felt normal. It felt.
Yeah, too much rain.
I loved it. I loved smelling the
dreary.
cold air.
Okay, you're weird. She's weird.
But I'm
Anyways, yes. Good morning, everyone. If you're
Good
wondering where you
morning.
are, what you're doing,
I
you're
know.
listening and watching to Table for Five. Welcome to our show, Table for Five, where you, the listening and viewing audience, will always have a seat right here at this table
Yes.
for our great conversations that we are always bringing you and will bring you. Couple more shows until the end of the year.
Yeah.
Then we're about to like
3
close
more,
out
yeah.
2018.
Woohoo,
Bye bye
that was
2018. Yes. So now that Table for Five with Felicia and Annette, I'm Felicia.
I'm Annette.
I'm like all like messed up today because we are just back in the groove. So if you want to let people know about our social media and where they can find
Absolutely.
us.
So, like, our weekly housekeeping, you can follow us on all our social media platforms, which are Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and our website, which I love to call our one-stop shop. It's www.table4for-5.com. And there you can find all our prior shows, our guests, our gallery, and a tab to advertise with us. More importantly, there's a contact page, and all you have to do is put your email. We don't want anything else from you, and you will receive our newsletter, which I think is great.
Great.
Because it has all the information about the upcoming shows, our guests, and how you can reach their organizations and their companies and learn a little bit more about that. So, yeah, it keeps you connected to Table for Five.
Yes, and tidbits of information that we give you that we learn a lot. from
And
those
if you're
newsletters
watching
too.
us on latalkradio.com, you could also switch over to our Facebook Live at Felicia and Annette, and you can send us questions and comments of anything that you hear, and we're talking about where people are already logging in.
Oh, yes. Good morning, everyone on Facebook.
and
Or if
then-
you want to call in or you want to do the call in.
If you call in, you could call us at 818-570-5085. 570-5085 if you want to call. But if not, you could jump on Facebook Live. We're live right now, and leave us a comment or a
Yes,
question.
to jump in on this great show that we have for
Yay.
you today, guys. You know, as you know, the holidays are upon us. It's December. What is today? December 10th. Today
It
is
is.
December 10th, 2018.
All day.
And today is our Dating and the Holidays show with special guest Grant Langston, CEO of eHarmony.com, and Jeannie Assimos, the VP of Content at eHarmony.com. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
You're getting a little
Little applause.
Oh, I like that.
Yes.
Wow. I need more of that in my life. Let's
Yes.
just go through my day. There's just a little.
Yes, it's so
Yeah.
great to have with you.
People applaud.
Right. Your parking was so good. You know, just every little moment.
Yes, it's so fantastic. This is such a great topic that we have been. Well, Jeannie is a return guest. Thank
Yeah.
you for coming back.
Yeah.
She is a friend of Table for Five. She's been here before. We just figured it out. It was last February, right before
No,
Valentine's
my
Day,
gosh.
and that's when we decided, listen, we got to have another show because there's so much to talk about with this topic and online dating, and we got a lot of great feedback from that show. And I mean, the holidays. This is a crazy time of year. People break up just because it's the holidays, which is kind of insane, but people are cheap.
I know.
Cheap
So
people
true.
out there. It's so awful.
So before we jump in, let's
Yes.
formally introduce them. Grant is the CEO and has been with eHarmony since its inception in August 2000. He has influenced almost every aspect of the brand from his early days as a writer to later years managing marketing, customer care, content, social media, and the trust and safety departments.
That's all true.
I got questions for you.
Very busy.
A passionate advocate of eHarmony's mission, Grant never misses an opportunity to speak about compatibility and its importance in a successful long-term relationship.
Yes.
Jeannie Assimos is the VP of Content. She's been on board, correct?
Yes.
Since 2008, Jeannie manages PR, social media, and oversees eHarmony's popular advice site, which brings in over 2 million UVs per month. What are UVs?
Unique visitors.
Unique?
So actual people. Yeah.
Oh, unique.
Yeah.
visitors.
Unique
Yes.
visitors.
Yeah.
As
So
opposed
actual
to
folks, as opposed to a bot or
Returning visitors,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
Yeah.
if those people came 2 times,
Yeah.
that would be a lot more page views, but
Right.
not new people.
Oh,
That's the way you look at it.
got
right?
it.
Okay, so a unique visitor is a first time.
Yeah.
Newbie.
Yeah,
A
it's a person
newbie.
who they may have been there last month, but they came at least once that month.
Got it. Oh, I
Wow,
learned something
nice.
new today.
Yeah.
Love it. And when she's not editing, blogging, or publishing content, she works on eHarmony's commercial spots and is a spokesperson for the brand as well. So welcome
Yes.
both of you.
Thank you. We're
to
going to give you
this
another
great
applause just for that.
conversation.
Yeah, you got to listen in on that one.
Okay, so do you want to start?
Go
or-
ahead, you
Okay,
can go.
so I have
Yeah.
a couple of questions.
Yeah.
Are you married?
Yes, ma'am.
You are married.
I am married.
Did you meet your
like,
spouse through? No,
Surprising.
Hey, you never know. You could be just taking advantage of the site.
I'm in a prime position. I don't want to be married.
Man.
I got them lined up like
Did you meet
jets
your
coming into
wife?
LAX.
Did you meet your wife on eHarmony?
I met my wife through eHarmony, but not on eHarmony.
Ah.
So the first thing I would say is in the early days, we prohibited employees from using the service because we were concerned that
makes
people
sense.
would get into the back and sort of skim the cream off the top, so to speak. There was, when it's a small company and,
Yeah.
and the code is sort of less locked down, that's always a possibility, and we thought we'd just eliminate that issue.
Okay. That makes sense.
So that was a policy for many, many years. I actually was introduced to my wife through a coworker. So she said, "Hey, I know someone you got to meet." So if I had not been working at eHarmony, I would not have met my wife, but I didn't meet her on the service.
Got it.
That's interesting. I want to ask piggyback a question on that. Like, okay, so you tell the employees we're prohibiting you, but what's to say that they don't make like a bogus profile? Well, I guess they have to have a picture.
Yeah.
They do. When you have millions of users, you probably wouldn't catch them.
Yeah.
That's,
yeah.
it's not a foolproof system, but it is a way to do your best.
Yeah.
In terms of a policy to prevent the problem. Obviously, if someone wanted to just go rogue and do something, we're never going to know.
Right.
And today you can use the service if you're an employee
Oh, so
because
you can.
as you mature as a company and you put standards in and procedures and you lock the back door so people can't sneak in the back and change things. The possibility for hacking becomes much less.
Okay, so I do have a question because you've been with the company since its inception. How much has it changed?
Yes.
Because now the competition is fierce.
Yeah.
Well,
So many.
I could talk about that all day.
Well, let's go back
It's a
and talk
50
about in
minute
the
show.
beginning because
Yeah.
I thought it was very interesting when we were talking. So 2000, I was trying to remember like, oh Lord, what was I doing in 2000? I had just gotten married, and I feel like the internet, like we had just gotten our computer and we were like online for a couple years, but it wasn't so like, oh, let's do everything. Like we weren't doing everything online. We weren't shopping online. We weren't, so this kind of idea was really new. And I was trying to think, there were just a couple. You were in like the top beginning ones. Can you say
That's
who
right.
else you?
Sure. Well, if you remember the late 90s, there was kind of a boom of tech companies, and then that crashed in 99. There was just it fell in on itself, and eHarmony kind of got the last venture capital money from that world,
from that
that
year. Okay.
period. In fact, the company that gave us the $2 million said, there will be no more, so you better make this last. And at that time, Match.com had been around about 5 years.
Okay.
And then JDate was around.
I never even heard of JDate.
Yeah, it's it's a Jewish site,
That's
right?
right.
Yep.
People
That's
are
right.
Oh,
just
okay.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's why.
And then there were a lot of little bitty sites that were mostly about sex.
Oh, okay.
So it was not a crowded field in terms of large established companies. There were very few. And J-Date was something that was successful, accepted in the community. It was serious. It was about helping people, find a spouse.
Really get together.
And so we said, look, we think we can do a similar kind of thing for a much bigger audience. And also the founder of the company, Neil Warren, had written 10 books on mate selection, and he had a real perspective on who should be together and who shouldn't be together. And they did some research to verify that, and it really bore out his ideas. And so that became the matching special sauce.
So so did someone approach you, or did you say, I want to join this company? Like, that idea was like, oh, that's a great idea.
No.
Dating online. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and like who does that?
Yeah.
Well, for serious relationships, right, it was not something that anyone had ever heard about or thought about or
Right,
wanted.
so
And I got
new.
laughed out of a lot of dinner parties by saying, yeah, I'm working for this company that's matching people for serious relationships. Everyone would go, that's not what online
Who
dating's
does
for.
that?
Yeah.
That's for sex. And when you
Right.
want to meet someone to marry, you go to church or your family or
Right.
some other serious
produce aisle.
avenue.
Exactly.
Right. So it was not a normal thing. And I was a writer. I worked in advertising. I worked at an ad agency doing TV and radio commercials. And a friend of mine called me and said, these guys need help. They're trying to launch this company and they don't have a writer. They don't have anybody who can help with marketing. Would you be willing to come and help them? And I said, what do they do?
Yeah.
And he told me, and I laughed too. I said, that's stupid. The online dating is for
why they
sex
need
with a
help.
stranger,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, right.
So I
Had
went.
you known about J-Date and Match.com before?
I was aware of those companies.
Okay.
And so I went and met with the two founders, and they said, look, if you can just help us for 6 months get the site launched, that's
Right.
all we need. And I said, okay, I'll help you for 6 months. If it's 6 months, that's all I want is 6 months. And that was, 19 years ago.
Yes. Yeah. I'm
So it was like
wow.
quicksand. You kind of wade in and then you can't get out. But
That's
I
great.
did see, once I got involved in it, that this was something, there was a tremendous need for it. People are not good at picking a partner
Yes.
because we're sort of designed through evolution to focus on the short term. And picking someone for the long term, that's just not what our brains are built to do.
Right.
So people need the help. And these guys had a pretty good system for making that happen.
And formula.
So, yeah.
Okay. That's fantastic.
That is very interesting.
Yes.
Okay, so now we're going to jump 19 years later. And here we are. It's the holidays.
Well, I think we asked the question, how has it changed?
Right.
Yeah.
So in the
So
beginning.
that was my initial question: is how much has it changed
With
because
all
of the
the
competition
competition.
that there is in
Yeah.
the whole right, left, up, down,
Well,
Apps.
I would say
swipe,
this.
swipe,
Yeah.
yeah.
The mission of the company has not changed one single
Nice.
bit.
in 19 years. That's great.
nice.
We still want to do the same thing we wanted to do the day we started, and we still see tremendous need for what we do.
Yes.
Wow.
So
okay.
there's no interest in being a casual dating site. There's no interest in throwing away the things that we've seen work so well for people. The rest of it, how we do that mission, has evolved a lot.
Okay.
The first day we started, you had to take a 450 questionnaire to get into the service.
Wait a minute.
Wait,
That
what?
hasn't changed because I
It has
did a
changed because
profile.
now it's 130 questions.
Really, it seemed like 400
And
questions.
were there no photos in the beginning?
There
too?
were no photos. Now that
pictures.
didn't last too long.
I know.
But
Oh,
That's
is like
really
blind
hard.
date, blind
Crazy,
date.
right?
Yeah.
well, you learned about the person.
Yeah.
But the theory was, and this is a valid theory, that most people put physical stuff way out in front of anything else. And in fact, a lot of men are like, if she's hot enough, I don't care about the rest of it. I'll just make it work.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which has been the genesis of millions of terrible marriages, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So we thought, why don't we pull that back? Why don't we put
Right.
the physical back as far as we can? Eventually they're going to go to dinner and they'll see each other, but we'll not make that the first thing.
Right. So that was done on purpose.
That was done on purpose,
Yeah.
and it lasted about 3 months before men were like, we won't use this service. If I can't see her picture, I'm not interested.
Wow. Okay.
So we've
You adapted.
We've continued to
Yeah.
try and de-emphasize the physical although it obviously matters a lot.
Yeah.
It does.
So that has changed. We used to not be as good at matching people, frankly, and so we would reject people because we didn't. So let's say that you came and took the questionnaire, and we saw that you were sort of a little bit of a lot of things. You didn't fit neatly into a type. You were a little of this, little of this, little of this.
Oh, okay.
And we thought, wow, we're not sure how to match you very well. We would say, don't pay us.
Yeah.
We can't help you. Sorry. So we did that for years, and people would make fun of that, but it was an
that's
attempt
honest,
to be
though.
honest
Yeah.
about our capacities. Now, obviously, as you get better and better and better, and you work at something for years, you find you don't need to do that anymore.
And that was back with the 400 questions.
Yeah,
correct?
that was
Okay.
back
Yeah,
years
because I had a
ago.
friend though who did. I don't know what site it was, and I'm not sure if it was eHarmony or what, but I know it was a dating online site, and they rejected her.
Yeah, it could have been us.
It was
No. It was just.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like a couple of years ago. It was like recent.
Oh,
It wasn't
okay.
like.
recent.
But I
Yeah.
don't know if it was you. I don't. She just said I did an online profile and I was rejected, and I was like,
So
really?
maybe that could be it. Like now we know the behind the scenes that it's like you're so all over the place based upon your answers that it's hard for them to say, okay, well we can put you
Yeah,
in
but
this
even
lane.
still, if I like blue and then I like gray and then I like plaids and I like flowers, what I mean, can't you
Well,
just
maybe
find
you weren't
somebody?
consistent because what I did notice helping my friend, and I say this to not that I'm on eHarmony looking for anybody. It's been happily married. We just celebrated 19 years. Thank you very much.
Wow.
But I helped a friend get on, and so we were going through these questions, and I feel like some of them they ask you the same question, but in a couple of different ways.
Sure, we
So I feel like okay, well maybe if your answer was like this on that one, and then it was like changed 4 different times every time they asked you, they're probably like, are you being truthful? Are you being honest? Like, or do you really know what you want? So maybe that's how you kind of like.
There's definitely that, and so we've gotten better over the years at matching the person that is more complex. Let's say, let's
Okay.
just pick that description.
Or difficult.
Well, I mean, the basis
all
of
relative.
our sort of philosophy is that people that are similar in the ways that really matter have an easier life together. And what tends to
I
happen,
will say that is true.
what tends to happen, we're not talking about what kind of movies you like or what
Yeah.
kind of food you like. We're talking about foundational values.
Yeah.
If you and a person are quite different on a number of those things, the relationship will be great for 1 year, it'll be great for 2 years, and then the friction sets in because there's always compromise.
Yeah.
And what you see is that in year 7 or 8 or 9, one of the people just says, I can't do this anymore.
It's
This
too
is too
much
hard. And it kind
compromising.
of tips over. The people that are well matched, they don't even know why their relationship is so good. It's just kind of effortless. They just sort of, life is hard, but they are simpatico with their person. And when something comes up, they just both nod in the same way.
Yep.
So one of the things we always talk
makes
about is
sense.
ambition, right? I mean, if you and your partner have very different ideas of what is appropriate in terms of ambition,
Right.
that's a compromise. It's just going to come up over and over.
Right.
You're working too much. You're working too much. The other person's like, you're lazy. What's wrong? You're
Right.
not working hard enough.
Right.
So that's just one of the 29, 30 things that you're trying to line up. And if you get most of those lined up, things just ride easier.
Okay, so did you think that you would become a relationship expert after 19 years?
I don't
You sound like a relationship expert
Yeah.
to me.
Yes.
So wise.
I'm
It's
thinking
very
like, when is
wise.
the book coming?
I know, geez.
It is interesting. When I was in college, none of the things that I'm talking about existed.
Or
know.
or mattered.
Well, yeah, I say that to my nephews now. I'm like, you got to keep your eyes and ears open because it's impossible to know what the world's going to be like in 20 years.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Well, my thing too is that I liked what you said in the beginning when you touched upon, people. It's hard for people to understand the long term because I almost
true.
feel like we don't talk about marriage enough in terms of psychology, and that's what I love about specifically your site, eHarmony,
Yeah.
is that I feel like there's a lot of psychology that goes into your questions, into matching people, and people don't think about that. Like I almost feel like if you want to be a married person, you need to go and take like a psychology course in college before you
Yeah.
start doing it because you need to understand what to look for. And a lot of people are just
I don't
like, I
think you
want
have
to
to
be
take a
married.
psychology. We always disagree to disagree.
I do.
No,
I
you don't
think
need to.
so.
You need to know
I
what you
do.
want, and you have to be able to. This is my little. And
yeah,
you
but
have
you
to
have
be able
to recognize what's the crazy in the other person
No,
too.
no, I disagree. I think you need to know what you want. I think you need to write a list, and these are my desires, and these are the things that I will not compromise on. And you have to be true to yourself.
Sure.
Because you have to know that the minute something makes you uncomfortable, that matters. And I think women kind of blow it off. Oh, he's so cute. He's so cute. No, that moment, that little thing that you felt was like, ugh, that matters. I always tell my little girlfriends who are getting ready to marry, whatever, you love. I had this conversation with someone in London. Said, "What do you love about your fiance, and what is the part that bothers you?" I said, "That part that bothers you is going to drive you crazy when you get married because it doesn't go away.
Yeah.
It just
So
gets
true.
bigger.
Yeah,
So
just
you
make
got
sure
to
you can live with
decide
it for
right
the rest of
before
your life.
you got to decide before you go down that aisle. Can you live with that for the rest of your
You've
life?
got your most leverage at that point.
I know.
Yes.
Your leverage goes down
Yes.
the day you
Yes.
say
If
I
If you
do.
go, you know, it's really not that big of a deal. Yeah, because you just compromised on it right
Yeah.
there.
But I don't think that people. I think you need that psychology course because I don't think people. Even,
I didn't have a psychology course.
I don't think that. But you are a very list and type A orientated type of person. So the type B, other personality types, they need someone to come along and say, okay, well, if at the very least, if you're not going to take a course,
Well,
in
that's what
psychology,
pre-marriage counseling
at
should help you
least
figure out.
make the list.
That's what I think.
You know.
Well, here's a fun game to play. You know, if you're single, write down the things you want in a person. Now, I would say, and we have said at our company, if that list is more than 10 things, you probably really don't want a person. These people that show up with 50 things, this is what I want.
I know.
It's like, yeah. Fair enough.
I know.
Hone
Good
that
luck with
down. But once you've got that list of 10 things, 12 things, whatever that you want, are you those things?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good
You've got to
question.
answer
So
that
true.
question
Yeah.
first, because guess what? You can't attract that unless
Yeah.
you are that.
Yeah.
Why would that person want to be with you?
I absolutely agree.
And so the people that are somehow looking for someone to lift them up out of the muck and their life isn't so great or they're confused or they're not honest or they're whatever and they want a person that's that.
Right.
That's a dead end street.
Yeah.
You got to get yourself sorted out first before you really can offer that
Someone
person what
else.
they want.
for sure.
The last thing I would say, which is, boy, this is so old fashioned. I even hate to say it, but
say it.
you know, if you are married or in a long term relationship, what you learn pretty quickly is that it's really about service. It's about serving the other person. And if you are in this search looking for what you can get, what do I get? What do I get? Are they, you know, that's appropriate because you want to pick a person that's of high caliber, but
Right.
you've got to be always thinking about the fact that the relationship's only going to work if you are serving that person. And it's the
Right.
80-20. If you're both serving 80% of the time and taking 20% of the time, it's going to be great.
Yeah.
And don't forget that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I
I
agree.
like that. I like that.
I
tidbit
agree.
Of information service.
So now here we are, 19 years later.
Yes.
And we are in the holidays.
Yes.
And people are single and looking to mingle or looking to have someone to go to a Christmas
Holiday party.
Holiday party.
That was my
Yeah.
question.
Or go to
Yeah.
the, family dinner with someone, even if it's just a friend.
Yeah.
Do you, because I know you manage the advice.
Yeah.
Do you find people.
And she's single.
I know.
Dating someone.
Oh, she's
Oh,
wow.
is that it?
Throwing her.
Okay.
Did you just like
Sorry.
mess that up for her?
I mean,
It's hard to keep track. But
Grant,
there's
Well,
a
that's
lot
psychic.
going on.
whatever. Grant.
So do you guys
So bad.
have folks that okay, so here's a question. I've never done online dating. So I go
Yeah.
online and I'm creating my profile. I see this guy, his name is Robert Mata. Oh, I like him. He's cute. He's smart. He's got everything going on. I'm gonna date him. Then I go out with him. I'm like, yeah, no, I don't
Well,
want to
but wait a minute. Just because you pick him doesn't mean he's going to pick you.
Right, no, but
Right.
we go
Are
on.
you compatible?
We
Okay.
go
Yeah,
on
you
Yeah,
to
yeah.
communicate.
Right,
All
right.
that
So we
happens.
communicate, we meet, we go to a Christmas thing, and then I go, yeah, I don't think this is the guy for me. So I drop him.
Yeah.
How does that work? So then he's like, wait, I really liked her. So I just move on to the next person, and you guys are cool with people just doing that?
Well, that's the human
the way it
experience.
goes,
yeah.
Well, first of all, who on earth would take a first, second,
I
third
don't-
date and introduce them to their friends at a Christmas party?
Anybody.
Not me.
Yeah.
Oh,
No way.
you have
People-
not met.
well, what about people who are just looking for a date? Like, okay, I don't want to show up to my holiday party dateless.
I mean, I think
don't
you would
know.
just bring
I'd take a friend
think you
before
bring
I
a
would just
friend,
pick-
yeah.
But wait
Yeah.
a minute. But does that happen? Are you aware that people come on your site and go, okay, I just need someone? Are you made aware of that, or they
Yeah.
just create
Do
a
it.
profile and do it?
I don't think typically people come on our site just to find a date for a party. I mean, they're coming on our site because they're looking for a relationship. And I even think with the other apps, the casual apps, they're not looking for a date for a party, because that is.
It's
When you're
more of an
bringing someone
escort.
to a party, that's sort of like a statement in a way, right? Like,
Right.
this
It
is my
is.
person. I'm
It
introducing
is.
you to my work family. So I
Right.
don't think that happens a lot, but I definitely think there's a lot of breakups this season before Christmas, because I don't want to go through a holiday with someone I know I don't want to be with, and I don't want to buy the gifts. That happens. This is like a big breakup season.
Really?
Right before Thanksgiving.
And so, how are you hearing about this? Like, are
I
you?
mean, people write in. People
Yeah.
write into. We have a button on our advice site called Ask the Experts, and they write into
Okay.
Grant and I. So I read letters every day. This is a
Really?
huge breakup season.
So you said
Yeah.
before Thanksgiving?
Yeah, it starts before Thanksgiving.
So they rather
Yeah.
be alone.
Oh yeah.
Yes, less
Then-
pressure. Yeah.
Really?
Well, there's family involved,
Yeah.
right? I mean, if you have a girlfriend or a boyfriend or you're dating someone, your family's going to be like, bring them over. I want to meet them. You know, it's
a lot
just
of
good
pressure.
to shed the baggage or the thing that you know isn't going to work. And from our perspective, the beginning of December is the lowest
Yeah.
time of business for our
Yeah.
company.
Really?
No way.
Absolutely.
That was one of my
Yep.
questions: is
It's
how
the
active
quietest.
is the
It's
site?
the
It's
quietest
quiet.
time. But you know when it goes nuts? The day after Christmas. It goes
Really?
nuts.
Because they want a date for New Year's.
Because they've been home with their family.
Yeah.
They see their brother and his wife. The
Yeah.
mom says, "Why aren't
Mom's
you
alone.
married?" They think, you know what? I got to do something about
Yeah.
this. I got to take the bull by the horns. I'm not meeting someone. I want to be like Joe and have a person. So they come out of Christmas with a head of steam. And then you've got New Year's, which is
Right,
the New Year's
right.
resolution. And then you got Valentine's
Yeah.
Day. So from the day after Christmas until early March, our business is bananas.
Really?
No way.
And what does that mean,
Interesting.
bananas? That means just like you
Busy,
have
busy,
people,
busy.
just new profiles coming
Lots
up,
of
coming.
registered.
Tons of people
lots of
joining the
people
service.
coming. And it's like the best time
Wow.
to get on, because you got the biggest pool. of
So
people.
many people.
So it's like,
That's
if you want to
true.
find someone, go right after Christmas.
That is
Yeah, that was
interesting.
That was one of the questions I had. When is a good time to be on? Because I guess now is kind of
Yeah.
you don't want to get on because your pickings are very
Well,
slim.
I guess the pickings would be more slim. Obviously, you're going to get a bunch of matches. It's not like you
Right,
would
right.
notice that it's thin.
But people are busy right
But
now.
people
too.
are busy. I
Yeah.
mean, it is hard to, first of all, if you haven't done online dating, it's a job.
Yeah. It's a
I mean,
lot of
you're
work.
processing these requests. You're seeing people. You're writing messages to people. You could be getting 10, 15, 20 people
Prompts.
a day
Yeah, that's true.
that you've got to
Yeah.
look at and read, and you've got people want to communicate with you. It's labor intensive, but it's worth it.
Yeah.
This time of year, though, all the rest of it is hard to manage. And I think
Right,
people
right.
just punt to the new year. They go, I'll tell you what, I still want to find somebody, but the week before Thanksgiving, I'm going to put it all on hold, and I'm just going to have fun with my friends and do my Christmas shopping,
Do
and I'll get back to
Friendsgiving.
this in January.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Friendsgiving.
So, do we, I lost my train of thought. You said something really quick, and I didn't want to interrupt you. Okay, so I'll just go to my written question. It'll come back to me. So, okay, now you guys have this site, and so what are so let's say people are dating now, and it's the dating. What are the do's? Because I know there's an advice column, the dating do's and
Oh, yeah,
don'ts
there's
for
so
the
many.
holidays.
Many, many do's and don'ts.
I know. Where do we start?
Okay, so well, really quick before you
Yeah.
answer that. So, what is the advice that you give to the people when they are asking you or saying to you these things? That
Like
you
what?
say-
Like single during the holidays?
yeah,
Or
yeah.
I mean, single during the holidays. Enjoy the holidays. Don't worry about
Don't put this
pressure
pressure.
from
Yeah.
the family.
Yeah.
Just it can be as stressful as you make it. It's up to you. So you can always change that. And if you really want to find someone, then after the holidays you do focus on that. So
Yeah.
I think our advice is always like, be grateful with where you are, accept where you are, don't worry about the pressure, do what you think is best for you in the time that's right for you. But especially for holiday stuff, I think new relations, if you're dating someone new, that's always kind of weird. Like, what do I get them for Christmas? That's a lot
Yeah,
of that.
that's a lot
stuff
of
comes
pressure
up a lot. So
to-
I think you always have
yeah.
a conversation with the person you're dating. Like, maybe it's like, you know what? Let's not do a gift this year. Let's
Yeah.
just go have a nice dinner. Or let's go
Yeah.
have a nice
Be
weekend
honest.
away.
I always feel like honesty is the
Communicate.
best policy.
Right? It always
Communication.
comes back
Absolutely.
to talking. And
Oh, I
yes.
know what I was going to say.
Yeah.
So you said earlier on in the eHarmony, you guys rejected folks.
Yeah.
Has there ever been a case where you go, okay, we cannot have this person on our site, or this person is not a good match for our company lately?
Well,
And what would that be? What would
Yeah.
what would be the little red flags
Yeah.
that you go, oh, this is not a good?
It tends to sort itself out
Yeah.
because of the questionnaire. I mean, there's two things that really help make our service better for people. One is there's a questionnaire that a person who just wants a quickie is going to see as a barrier. And the second thing is we cost a lot comparatively.
Okay. So that's your difference, I would say, between other sites.
Is that the way to weed out people?
It's definitely a difference, and it's definitely a way to weed out people. And if you ask a lot of our customers, why are you here?
Yeah.
Especially women will say, because you charge a lot. And if a guy's on this site and he's
Serious.
paying that money, he's serious.
Yeah.
That's
So
great.
there's a
Yeah.
there's a
That's
barrier
why I
there
love you.
that keeps the yahoos away.
Yeah.
And it's sort of a thing we don't even have to tend to. It's just part of our business.
Right.
And that has gotten better because now there's a lot of cheap,
right.
casual hookup competitors.
But see, but there could be a crazy with deep pockets.
For sure.
That's
You know what I'm saying? It
You
doesn't- it
cannot
doesn't clear-
eliminate.
right. It
You
doesn't
cannot
clear
eliminate
everybody.
the jerks.
Yeah.
For example, there's a lot of jerks that have money.
Yeah.
And of course, you're saying to the people that use your site, you got to be cautious. You got to
Yeah.
be smart. Just like in any internet business, a lot of people means you're going to have a very few people that are not nice, and that's life. And so we always tell people there's rules to meet someone for a date. Meet them in a public place. Get there under your own power. Tell your friends where you're going. Have them call you an hour
Absolutely.
in. I mean, there's just these basic things, and if you
Yeah.
do that stuff, you probably will
Do a
never have a
background
problem.
But
check.
we also have like a trust and safety
On
team
your
that
own.
works
I was going to ask you about
24
that.
hours
Yeah.
a day.
Yeah.
So how does that work?
So they can, so our users can report a match if somebody's being inappropriate. We also have like flags and filters and things that are looking for comments that are inappropriate, or so if somebody curses or if somebody,
That's if they're doing it though through the site, like if they're
they're
chatting
on the site,
through the site
on their profile,
Right.
and like so.
But if they're
we're-
sending you inappropriate pics,
then you
That's-
you need to report this person, and then we will
Okay.
go in and pull them off the site immediately, and that happens.
Sure. I
Yeah.
mean, once you take the communication onto your own personal
Right. That's
Right.
there's
world,
nothing we
we
can do that.
Right,
lose
right.
the ability to
Yeah.
help you.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
but
Obviously,
you can still go back and say, "Hey, I'm interacting with this person, and he
Absolutely.
just lost his mind."
absolutely, and we'd love to
Completely
know that.
different than what his profile is, here,
Yeah.
or we've been dating for 3 months, and I just found out all these skeletons in his closet.
Sure.
Well, I'm going to come back and let you know. So there is a way for the user
Absolutely.
to update you guys, and then
Yep.
what would you do with that
We'd pull
information?
them, we'd close them up,
Yep.
pull them out of the match pool.
But
and
so
close
is
the
there no
account.
way like to verify that though? Like, what if maybe she just got mad at him?
Well, if the communication is off our site, there is no way to verify. it.
Right.
We don't take any chances, though. We don't try to play he said, she said. I mean, if you write us and say, this guy did this, we're just going to err on the side of
Caution.
yanking them.
Okay.
Because it's really impossible. Send us proof of what happened.
Right.
It's more important that people feel safe and that we
That's good.
respond
Yeah.
than anything else.
How many
think that's good
users,
to
how many marriages that you can think of successfully?
It's a good question. It's hard, and I'll tell you why. Because what tends to happen is people meet someone, they go on 3 or 4 or 5 dates, and they go, I really like you. Let's turn our accounts off and see
Right.
what we got here. And so they do, and then they date for a year, and then he proposes or she proposes, and they get married. And they don't think to call and go, hey, eHarmony,
dare
thanks so
them.
much for putting this together. They're just on into life, right?
Yeah.
So we've done the craziest things. We've pulled public records of
Yeah,
marriages and
yeah.
crossed them with our membership.
Really?
We've done all this stuff
Wow.
to try
Trying to
and
learn.
figure it out.
right.
The nearest we can figure it's about 2 million people.
Wow.
That
That
we've
was
got
like
married,
5 years ago.
and that was
Grant.
some years
So
ago.
It's way more
So
than that.
it's probably more than that.
Yeah.
We haven't checked recently, and that's a lot
Wow.
of kids too.
Sure. So is there such a thing that, let's say I create a profile
Yeah.
and I'm on it for like 5 years and you're going, okay, this lady's been on our site for 5 years. What's going on? Is there such a thing like too much, too long? You've been on here too long.
That's
You
a
got to
good
go on.
question.
You got to move
Yeah.
on.
It's a good
If
question.
you called our customer care people and you said, listen, I've been on this thing for 5 years. Something's wrong. They would say, let's look at your account.
Yeah.
Let's see what you've written about
All right,
yourself.
but would you say, but not so much me calling you, but
Yeah.
you make an observation and go, okay, she's been on here for a while. What's going on?
We've got too many users
Yeah.
to proactively
Wow.
do that.
Okay.
But I will tell you this, it is very possible for people to sabotage their own search. People, like, let's say that you're a man and that you collect porcelain dolls and you share that in your profile. I
not a
love
good
to
idea.
collect porcelain dolls.
Scary.
Creepy.
Women might not love that, but they're never going to say to you, "Hey, man, you're a creep," they just go away, and
Right.
and you may never be aware that what you've written is repelling people.
And it might not
Okay,
even
but do
be
you-
like an everyday thing. Like you might not have an obsession. Like maybe his mother loved porcelain
Right.
dolls. Maybe it like comes across
But
poorly.
But wait a minute.
right?
So let's say the profile does say that, or I like to collect spiders, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you say would you be able to see that before it goes up and go, you know what, that's not a good idea. You shouldn't put that.
When you say we, would we be able to see it?
eHarmony,
You know
the
what?
company.
If we had the manpower, well, I don't know if it's even possible logistically,
So
given the
many.
volume of
Yeah.
stuff.
So you guys don't see what goes up
It's
on the...
it's computer
yeah.
matching.
If things
right?
are flagged, we will see.
That's
Okay.
right.
Yeah.
We can review it.
Yeah.
But
Right.
there has to be reason.
Right, right.
And if
For
you
it to
wrote that
pop
I
up.
collect
Yes.
spiders, that's not going to come to our attention.
And unless you as the user, call in and say, "Hey,
Right.
I'm getting all these crap guys," or whatever that's not really matching, then you'll say, "Okay, well, let's go in." Then you go into their specific thing and say,
Yep.
"Okay." And what about people? Can they call you for help? They're like, I don't
Absolutely.
really know how to write this, or I sound stupid, or
Yeah.
whatever. Can I call you to
Sure.
get help on making myself sound great?"
We encourage that.
Oh, you do?
really?
Yes.
Okay,
We have
okay.
a whole customer care team, and they're so amazing.
So you connect with the customer care team
Yeah.
as soon as you log on and you create your profile. How does that
You
work?
can do it without any assistance at all.
Yeah.
I think the point she's making is that if something's not working, if
Yeah.
you feel like no one's responding to me,
Yeah.
Right.
or I'm not getting any matches. I mean,
Yeah.
think about this. You can pick all these parameters. If you wanted to be matched with a Muslim person within 20 miles of your house in Montana, you've painted yourself into a
Yeah.
corner, and we
Yeah.
can't help you. And
Yeah.
if you are like, "Wow, I'm not getting any matches,"
Yeah. 'Cause
you could
maybe,
call us, and
yeah.
the customer care person would say, "Look, you got to open up your
Yeah.
Yeah.
preconceived notions here a little bit. Your type isn't helping you.
Mm.
You got to open up to other possibilities because there's not enough people like that in your
your
town."
area.
Or like someone will say, my match setting is I don't want to date anyone 30 miles or further away. So they set it to
Right.
30 miles. And we're like, well, what if the love of your life is 36 miles away?
Right,
Can you
right.
just be a little more open with your settings? So just little things like that can make all the difference.
So what is?
Interesting.
Do you know what the success is in per state? Can you say you're more successful in New York with your matches, or you're more successful in California? Are you
I-
able to determine that?
I can say this. You absolutely get more matches if you live in a big city
Yeah.
than you do if you live in Montana or a rural area. There's no question about that. It's just a
Okay.
factor of population.
Yep.
All things being equal. Now, as I say, you can monkey with your settings such that you don't get many people. And a lot of our work is just saying to people, "Hey, let us bring you a wide range of people so you have a lot to choose from. I know you don't like guys with dark hair, or I know you don't like doctors because you dated one 5 years ago and he was busy all the time." You got to quit that business of,
Right.
Yeah.
of rejecting
Putting
types.
yourself
So
in a
you
box,
can put,
yeah.
let's say, I lived in New York and I created a profile willing to relocate. So does that open your pool to the entire state?
Yeah, you can
You
open it
could
as
do the
far
state
as-
or the
yeah.
country or the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's up to
Wow.
You can date
Yeah.
internationally.
Sure.
That's what I found fabulous, because I was like, listen, maybe you're not looking to relocate, but
Yeah.
maybe you're just looking to meet someone,
Yeah.
and like, okay, well, maybe they'll move here, maybe I'll move there, either way, but it could be just a way to travel.
We've had a lot of those happen. I mean, this has happened many, many times, but I can remember particularly a woman that lived in Texas and a guy that lived in India that got married and moved to Texas.
Really?
Yeah, so that happens.
Okay.
It's certainly not what most people want. Most people want to have someone that they can jump in the car and drive to very
Sure.
easy,
Sure.
and that's quite different depending on what part of the country. If you live
Yeah.
in Dallas, 60 miles is 60 minutes, and if you live
Yeah.
in New York, 60 miles is impossible.
Right.
Right? That's like
Right.
Western
But
Pennsylvania.
I like
or
what you
something.
said though too, is that like,
Yeah.
don't stop yourself.
Yeah.
Like the love of your
Yeah.
life, your person,
Yeah.
your soulmate, your forever person could be like
Yeah.
right there. They could
Yeah.
be living in a different part of the world right now, and unless you open yourself up to that, I
I mean,
don't
you're
know,
just going to get more matches. How is
Yeah.
that bad?
Right.
You can still say
yeah,
no.
more
You can still
choices.
close
No,
it.
But like, don't you want more choices? Like,
yeah.
That's,
I agree.
Yeah.
I
How
agree.
about,
do we have any questions?
No,
No.
just comments from London.
We miss you. We miss you.
Not who they are they seem to be. So let's say I put a picture up of somebody else.
Yeah.
Guy shows up and it's me, and he's like, "Well, you're not the girl in the picture." Has that happened?
Sure.
Yeah.
Really?
Everything has happened.
And then people
Yeah.
just
How do
Everything
you?
has
How
happened.
do you? Like.
Well,
how
let me
do you
explain this to you.
avoid
it
that?
rarely happens like that, and I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because if I'm misrepresenting myself online, often that is a criminal activity.
Oh.
I didn't
Right?
know that.
Oh.
I'm
didn't know
trying
that.
to do something very specific. I'm trying to make you think that I'm in love with you, that I'm very handsome,
What's the crime there?
that I'm very
It's coming.
successful.
Okay.
Right.
And then I'm going to call you or I'm going to write you and I'm going to say, you're not going to believe what happened. You know, my money is tied up in this hotel deal and it won't come through the bank till next week. My daughter has been in a car accident in Hong Kong and I've got to go there and see about her. If you will loan me $1,000 for the plane ticket, I will pay you back in 3 days. You know I'm good for it. And that is how it happens, and you would be shocked how many people wire that money.
Wow.
But how is that in relationship? Like, so you're saying that's basically like an email scam. I get those all the time. But I'm saying if I create a profile and I put up Jeannie's picture
Yeah.
and I show up,
Well, you're going to be
there's
in
no
trouble
crime.
pretty quick, aren't you? There's no crime there, but that person, that man, I mean,
Yeah.
he may be happy that it's you, but
Yeah.
that's not who he's come to meet.
Right.
Yeah.
And so he's probably going to turn around and walk away.
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
is there any way for you to filter that to know? Okay, that's a stock photo or that's a
There
actual
are
photo.
ways.
Oh, they are.
There are databases of stock photos such that we can compare photos
Yeah.
to stock photos. Or let's call them professionally made and ID'd photos. Now, the criminal or the fraudster, whatever
Right.
you want to call them, they're hip to that. So they're not going to use professional stock photos. They're going to just find some random person's photos.
Right.
And those are not going to be ID'd in any way, and they're not going to be searchable for us.
Got it.
But there are a lot of ways, and some of them I wouldn't even want to talk about here, that we can identify people who are not who they say they are.
But typically somebody
so you can
that's-
authenticate it.
that's going after someone online on a dating site, what they do is they start talking to you. You start talking and you talk for a long time. You talk for even 1, 2, 3 months, and like they can't ever meet you. You know, something comes up. They're not.
yeah.
They're not close by. They're out of the country. So it's sort of like that. Sort of what happens. But they also, you know, you think you're in a relationship with this person. They're proclaiming their love, and this happens a lot.
Really?
So 4 or 5 months down the line, that's when they hit you with the story. I need money. It's not right away. It's not
Right.
week 1 or 2. It's like 6 months in when you think you're in love with the person. So what we always say is, you are not in a relationship unless you've met the person. Don't think you are. And B, just don't ever give money to someone that you're
But
talking
how about
to
if the
online.
person lives in New York?
They
Yeah.
got to come see you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
Get
you
on
got to
that
go,
plane.
you got to
Yeah,
meet
if
them.
you haven't, you got to see them face to face.
Yeah.
It's
As
not a
soon as
relationship.
possible.
Unless they're in
Yeah.
jail. I mean, unless
Well,
like,
You can
wanna
still go see them.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and then you can still
You
go
can get on
see
that
them.
phone and put your hand on the glass, and you better do it
Yeah.
because otherwise
Yeah.
you are ripe to be
Right.
Yeah.
tricked.
Yeah.
Right.
So there's a certain level of things that we have to be aware of. And I was going to
Yeah.
get into that. You can answer it now or later. What are the things that you would say to people when they're starting their profile? Like, these are the things that we want you to be aware of. I believe it is on your site somewhere.
Yeah.
But
Safety tips.
A lot of
Yeah.
that stuff. But before we even get to the safety, I would say it's a process. If you're looking to find somebody to have a life with or to have a relationship, the idea that you're going to get in there and get it done and get out
I want it
is
before
sort of
January 1. Can we do
antithetical
that?
to what
Time.
you're doing.
Yeah.
We would love for you to be there a year, and we would love to introduce you to like 20, 25 people that you go on a date with and that
Really?
you try on. Absolutely.
exhausting.
No,
Over
it's
a
not.
year.
You're trying to find a person
year?
to live with for the
Year.
rest of
It's
your
not
life.
something that happens overnight.
No,
Yes.
I mean, listen,
You
it
might
happened
not-
overnight for me.
Well,
Yeah.
you're
It did.
in
You're
you're in a
fortunate.
minority. Like,
So why is it so hard to find a person off a site? Off the
I'm
site.
not off
like,
the site.
Like just not
Like
on
in
the
everyday
site.
life.
Like in an everyday
So-
life.
so people
why
are
is this?
full
I
of
can
shit,
answer that.
that's why.
I can certainly
No,
answer
they could be
that.
full of shit on the site too,
Sure.
and more so because they could be lying
Sure.
through their
Exactly.
teeth.
Most of the people I know are somewhat like me, and that's how it is for most of us. Typically,
Birds
our
of a
friends are
feather.
somewhat like us. They're very busy. They live in a city that's hard to get around. And the idea that they're going to go hang out in a place and try and meet people 2, 3, 4 nights a week. Talk about exhausting. That sounds
yeah.
exhausting.
Yeah.
they also are aware that whatever room they're in, the chances that there's a person that's really right for them, that really syncs up with them, pretty darn low. So they're in a poor environment. The targets are not that great, and it's exhausting. And so they come to the conclusion, you know what? I can sit on my couch with a phone in my hand, and I can accomplish the same thing. In fact, more of what I want than I can hustling around trying to be social 4 nights a week. And I think that's the decision that almost everybody has made. Sure, some people can meet people at the grocery store, at the hardware store.
Right.
They have that kind of personality. But even then, it's probably not very many people that you're having to choose from, right? You can't be picky when you've got a small pool.
Yeah. Yeah. And I do feel like the younger you are also, when you're in college, I feel like that's why a lot of people meet their soulmates or their people in college, is because then you have people from everywhere.
Yeah.
You have such a big pool to choose from. And then you go away, you graduate, and then now you're in your little niche. Now you're in your career.
Gets smaller and smaller every year of your adult life, except for one group, men over 65, and it starts to get bigger.
Really?
Why, what are
The
they doing?
hottest property in the world is a 90-year-old man who's got his teeth in his hair.
Really?
Because men die earlier. And if you're a man who lives, listen, I know some 75-year-old men, and they got a line of women down the street with baked goods wanting to go on dates with them, because it's a simple numbers game. There's few of those men to go around.
Why do they want those men?
They want companionship.
Well, yeah,
Their husbands have
Their
died.
husbands have died. They want
So
to be
it's
with
the women that
somebody.
are that age as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
They don't wanna be alone.
I see. I
Yeah.
misunderstood.
The 20-years are looking for the
20-year-old.
90.
Yeah, because they're going to
Maybe
die
only-
and
only
there's
somebody-
money.
There's just a lot more
There's like a
75-year-old
10%.
women
Yeah.
than 75-year-old men.
Oh, wow.
So your
That's
value starts to go up as
interesting.
an elderly man in a way that it really doesn't in any
never
other.
thought
So,
about it like
so
that.
is that a big pool?
That's a pretty big group. That's
big
more and more people
Yeah.
in that age group use online dating.
Yeah.
Shut it
know.
down.
Isn't that
Wow. And they say they don't know how to use computers. They're
Yeah.
lying.
No.
They're lying.
And they do
Listen.
really well
Do
because
they?
for the most part, they're not fixated on the physical.
Right.
Right?
They're
When you're
past
30,
that.
you're
They've
like,
learned,
yeah, those 10 guys aren't good enough looking for me, right?
Yeah.
But when
You're
you're
trying to have
75,
babies. You're
when
trying
you're
to
75,
procreate.
you don't think that way. You're like, are you fun? Can you get around?
Yeah.
How's your hip?
Do you replaced? How many replacements do you have? How much metal do you have in your body? I
Right.
have a hard time
That's
going
all
to
that matters.
Because I like to travel. If you're going to be setting off a metal detector every 5 minutes, we can't hook it up.
I just learned something new. That's very interesting.
I love it. I love it. But and that's what I love too about your site is the fact that it's very specific. It is very specific. So if you are in a specific time in your life, and I think it goes across generations, in your 20s, in your 30s, in your 40s, in your 60s. Obviously, 60s we're still moving and grooving, and
Yeah, moving and grooving. That's
you
75.
can be, very specific and get it, and get it going, and then pull from this pool, because you might not have a lot of people in that age range, in your circle, or people who are getting older. Unfortunately, everyone's passing away.
The age of first marriage in this country is now 28 and 27.
Wow.
Which is, it was 20
Yeah.
like 30 years ago.
Yeah.
It has just been a massive change in the culture.
Yeah.
And so people, now it's not the same around the country. There's some parts of the country where people get married earlier. In New York City, no one's getting married till they're 40. But, that means that, yes, there are people who are tired of swiping and casual hookups in their late 20s. And they're like, I just want a real relationship with somebody. I'm tired of the sort of transactional, shallow relationships. So we have a lot of people really at all ages, probably not much younger than 25, because that's where people
what's
start
the youngest and what's the oldest?
I mean, we
You have to
take
be
folks at 21.
18. Oh, you have
but,
to be 21 or 18 to do it.
Yeah, but usually, I mean, I was 21 once. I wasn't interested in a relationship, so most people are not. But the high end, wow, that just goes to the point that we've had 90-years get
Really?
married.
I
Absolutely.
really love it.
Yeah, it's a cool thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
love
What
it.
is the oldest? So 90. in
Now
the
they
90s.
may be getting help getting on the site and doing their thing, but they're they're lonely. They've often lost a spouse, and they know that they love being in a relationship. They were married for years and years, and so they want to be with somebody.
Yeah.
And they'll call in and say, "Can you help me upload my pictures?" And we're like, "Yes, we absolutely." Yeah,
I
it's really
love
sweet.
it.
What's
I
the
love
oddest request you've ever gotten through customer service?
Oh my god.
Oh boy, I don't know that I could answer that on this microphone.
We can talk about everything.
You know, you get people who have special issues, dwarfism, or things where people are like, what do I do?
Yeah.
And you have to say to them, well, you have to be patient.
Yeah.
Because you've got a situation that you can't snap your fingers and
unique.
solve.
Okay.
A lot of people probably don't want to go out with you because of your unique situation. So we get a lot of those, you know, people that have medical issues and they don't know, should I talk about
Should
this
I
on my
bring it up?
profile?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's the
okay.
sort of thing that it's not
So
unusual.
any sort of handicap or
Yep.
anything like that? Okay.
Definitely get that.
It's like, do I post photos of my, wheelchair? Do I not? Like, when do I disclose
Right,
that? We get
right.
that. We get that.
That's a
So
really
what do
good
you
point.
say?
A
Do
really
you
good
disclose it
question.
out of the gate? Like, what do you
Yeah.
say to them?
Well, it depends on what it is.
Okay.
There are some things that are, if you have epilepsy, there's no need to put that on your.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
If
But
you're
if
in a
you're
wheelchair, you should share it.
Yeah.
I guess the more obvious and the more limiting your issue, the more that I would want to just get it out there. So that the
Right,
people who don't want to deal with that, I never hear from them. Right? It's like a gate. And if you come through
Yeah.
the gate, then I know you're okay with it.
Right.
That's probably the best way to make sure that every conversation you have is with a person that knows
already
about
knows.
it
Yeah.
and doesn't
Okay,
care.
Real quick,
Yeah.
is it on your site? Because I know there's same-sex sites. Do you guys discriminate, or is it just if you're gay, you can go to eHarmony?
Absolutely.
If you
Fantastic.
are, what is it?
Lesbian?
No.
Polyamorous?
Yeah. Do you guys-
Polyamorous is
Yeah.
like want to have a multi-generational marriage.
Well, yeah. Is that
So
something
some
you
of
guys?
it gets pretty outside our expertise. Polyamory may be one of those things, but we definitely do same-sex matching. So, the world is moving quickly. One of our competitors has, a listing of like 10 genders and another page with 15 sexual preferences. So
What
Oh.
the hell is that?
yeah,
know.
it's OkCupid. It's OkCupid. You could Google it and see them. I
What
don't
is it?
even know.
OkCupid?
15 what?
It's a
Sexual
site.
preferences?
Yeah. There, a
What
lot
does
of them.
that
I don't
mean?
even know what they are.
I don't even know what that means. Like, I don't know. I'm being very honest. Is that because you want to be with a guy? You want to be with a girl? You want to be with a dog? You want to be with a monkey? You want
No dogs or monkeys.
like, what is that?
How do you get to 15?
But there's a lot of in betweens now.
Yeah.
That
I only like to have sex with toes. I mean,
no, that may be.
That's a
But
fetish.
there,
That's a fetish. Yeah, like
yeah,
what's
yeah.
the
There are
difference
certainly
between, No,
people-
but seriously, what's the
Yeah.
Like a
difference between
sexual preference. That's what I'm saying.
Between a preference and a fetish, there's a difference.
Yeah. These are
Really?
not traditionally what you would think of as a fetish. These are more like, and I'm not an expert at this, but it's really about some of it's kind of gender bending or gender neutral,
Okay.
or
I like to have
when
sex
certain-
I was
with
a man,
women.
Now I'm a woman.
I was a man, now I'm a
I like
woman,
it.
but I
Yeah.
like this.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a weird combination of
All right.
preferences and
So,
sometimes.
but you have those on your site as well?
We do. My point is, we sort of do the basic same-sex matching, but the world is moving quickly,
Okay.
and there's a lot of nuance to that.
Right.
That means if you're going to stay current, you've got to.
Right, like a transgender person. Like
Absolutely. You have
I'm
to
a
understand a lot of that.
transgendered man
Right.
that is now a woman,
Right.
but I still have a penis, and so I'm looking for either another penis or a vagina. That's
Yeah.
what we're.
It
you
would
kinda
be
have to-
fun for you guys. Here's your homework: to Google this.
I'm afraid it'll burn up my computer.
No.
or
You
something. I don't know.
Google
I
it and
kids
see
at
how
home.
many of them you recognize or how many of you can identify. I did not do so well.
The preferences.
Yeah, the
I
preferences.
just don't. I didn't know there was more than 4.
So then, to answer though your question, so
the hell?
same sex, do you offer help for transgender
Yeah.
people then too?
Well, transgender people certainly can have any sexual preference,
Okay.
right? And so whatever you tell us your sexual preference is, that's
We'll match you.
how we'll match you.
Okay.
So whether you're transgender or not, it really doesn't
But
matter.
do they have to disclose that?
They don't have to, no.
That they don't have to disclose that they
No.
are a transgender person,
Don't have
because
to.
then that is kind of an
That's
issue.
that's a lie,
Yeah,
right? Because if I think she's a girl
Yeah.
and I like a girl,
Yeah.
And then
And I
hook
show up with
her.
a penis.
Well, here's
I
the
said,
thing, though.
"Where
If you
is-"
identify, I mean, this is all a fast-moving stream, right? This is changing every day. But if you identify as a woman, whatever you really are, the world is being asked to treat you as a woman. If you want to go to a women's restroom, at least in California, you have the
how
right
about
to
if
do that.
She's a transgender and I'm a guy and I like her, but I don't realize that she's transgender. I don't know that.
They have a penis.
Well,
yeah.
I understand, but in terms of as a business, our obligation is to treat her as she professes
Right.
to
So
be.
So
it's
then
up
they
to
show up
me.
on a date
It's up
and
to
they're
you.
like, and they meet, and she's
Yeah.
like, yeah, over coffee, by the way, I do have a penis. Then
Yeah.
can
I'll
that
be like,
person,
I got to go.
Yeah.
can that person then come to you and say, listen, I know Jane on here, Jane on her profile says
Right.
she's a girl.
Right.
I just had coffee with her at the Starbucks and saw some sausages. What?
Oh man!
You know, then,
they could certainly call us and tell us that. It would be interesting.
But
I'm not sure
there's
that's
anything you can do about
there's
it.
nothing we
Yeah,
can
there's
do about
nothing
that.
you
That
can
person
do
has
about
not
that.
violated any
Right,
Yeah.
right.
rules
Yeah.
of our
Misrepresent
service.
herself.
Right.
She's represented herself as a woman. We
Right.
take her at her word, and
Okay.
we've matched
It
her
just
with
lets
men.
me
and
know
she's
that I
not.
was attracted
Just,
to
just like people that post photos that are like
Right,
50
right.
times nicer than they actually look. That happens
Right,
every
right,
day.
right,
We
right,
always say
right,
don't
right.
do that because
Right.
then you're also
yeah,
kind of
like
tricking
the
someone.
different filters.
So really just
But,
ask
yeah,
a bunch of questions. I feel
Yeah.
like the best advice is when you go on for that first date, just ask a bunch of questions and
Yeah.
be as honest as possible.
Do you have a penis? Would that
What you got going down there? Is it a JJ?
I need to know.
Because I don't want
I
any
guess I would
surprises.
say this: if you were that
Communication.
woman in this situation, if you are at all sensitive to the situation, you probably should
I
bring
would be
that up right
mortified.
away.
Yeah.
I would be more like my personality. I would be horrified. I would make a
If
scene.
you were that man,
yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I would make a scene. I'd be
Or
like,
if you were dating a man and a man shows up and then
And he
all of a
tells me
sudden
he's
he has a vagina, then you'd be like, okay.
but wouldn't you just go? Wouldn't you just say this isn't? Well, thank you very much. I'm not interested. You wouldn't flip the table and scream or anything. would you?
Her and tables.
Yeah.
Oh
I
my!
think though, if you're in the dating world, there's a lot of stuff you deal with. So I
Right.
feel like the
I'm
more
so glad I'm married.
you, I mean, there's a
You,
lot
you
of stuff
kind of
deal
have to
with.
go, yeah. And I think go into it. The takeaway is go into it and be very communicative.
Yeah.
We're almost out of time.
Absolutely.
So is there anything that you guys want people to know, or any final thoughts?
Wow,
Or
I feel like we've said it all today.
I
We
love
just got it all out here on the table.
So great. Just be mindful of those JJs and those
Yeah, eHarmony.com is all I guess I would add.
And there's 15 sexual preferences
Yes.
or more.
Look it up.
I've learned so much.
Yes, yes.
Anyway.
But I think that this is the premier website. If you guys are looking
Yeah.
for a marriage, for a long-term relationship, even though I'm not on it, I did, like I said, help a friend on it. And we decided based upon the research that I did. And I think that you guys are a fantastic company. Listen, nobody's perfect.
Yeah.
But I think that you guys are doing a really great job. And I
Thank you.
endorse you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
very,
5
very
endorses
much.
eHarmony.com. But we want to thank you guys for joining us this
Yeah,
morning.
this
This was
was
such a
fun.
great, lively
So fun.
conversation,
Yes,
an
yes.
honest conversation. I appreciate that.
Yes.
We hope you guys have been informed, educated, and entertained. Catch us Wednesday. We have a great show on Wednesday as well.
excited.
Have a great rest of your week. Bye.
All right, bye.
You're listening to Table for Five with Felicia and Annette, only on LA Talk Radio.